Today is Tuesday, January 27th. This is our 51st consecutive broadcast on purchasing monthly new releases. This month we're doing March 2015. My name is Bob Tellini. I'm the guy on the left in Indianapolis. In the middle is Mark, and he's from California, and Ken is in New Hampshire or Florida. I'm not sure. This is not rehearsed. We don't plan this so that we all agree, so you'll hear some disagreements among us, which is fine. Okay, let's look at March. March is the biggest month in video measured by box office in 2 years. This is just a huge month. There are 6 titles over 100 million. There might even be a 7th title. I advise, since January and February, by the way, we advise to buy your budget because they were good months. My recommendation is that you overbuy March and underbuy April because we can already see that April is a weak month, which makes sense. Here's a tip sheet. When we talk numbers, we're always talking the last column, which is a store that buys $60,000 a year. If you want to get this tip sheet, just email bob.tellini@gmail.com. I'll put you on the distribution list. This is an idea from Ken McLearen's store. And what he does is when he has a 28-day window from Netflix and Redbox, he highlights it with shelf talkers. We think it's a great idea. That's the competitive advantage over Redbox. Okay. The Hunger Games is a Friday release, but I'm doing this on a weekly basis, so I'm going to include that with the March 3rd releases. This grossed $334 million. The other two grossed over $400 million. It doesn't matter. This is a maximum buy. And now I need an explanation of the recommended purchase. If you want to hit your budget, you want to buy the midpoint or 24 pieces. And what I'm saying is you probably should buy 30 or even a little bit more than 30, knowing that you're going to underbuy in April. So that's the way all these sheets are going to be. The midpoint is to be on budget. The high end is what I'll be recommending. Mark?
Wow, that's a lot of numbers. So those of you that adhere closely or strongly to your budget, just think of the 5th week of this month, which is the Tuesday falls on the 31st. Just push that to April, because like Bob said, it's a light month anyway. So just think of March 31st as April 1st, and then it all makes sense. You know, Hunger Games, it's a great genre franchise, huge box office, easy comps. You know, using it as a 4-week month, I'd bump that number up to what he normally has, and that means I would be doing 5 shelves. Ken?
I agree with Mark's approach to the 31st of March. That makes a lot of sense, particularly if April's going to be that kind of week, and that week in terms of not strong. And that makes it a lot easier for the rest of March here. But yeah, Hunger Games is a no-brainer. You know how it's done all fast. I'd buy at the high end of the number range there in that 30 number.
Foxcatcher. This is benefited by 5 Oscar nominations. This is an art house movie. It's grossed $11 million. It'll probably gross a little less than $1 million a week for a while. My recommendation is 7. Mark?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it is an art house movie. I never thought of it in those terms. Thought it just like a small drama, but you're probably right. And I like your recommended number a lot. You know, yes, the acting is superb, but the movie meanders, and it doesn't really grab you until the very end. The acting is so good, but the movie is only so-so, in my opinion. So I think your number is perfect, Bob. Ken?
I'd point out this is the second biggest title of the first week of March. It's the only title that's going to be of real significance on Tuesday, since Hunger Games is going to release on Friday. So it might warrant a little more attention than it otherwise would deserve. So I'd be at the high end of Bob's number there, that's 7. That'd give me a shelf, and I think that's what I need. And I'm probably going to have to already have shelf space allocated for Hunger Game on Tuesday, and with some shelf talkers telling people it's coming on Friday, because they don't think in terms of Friday releases. Most of my customers think in terms of Tuesday releases.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
So, but I'd be at the high end of Bob's number here with the Fox movie.
Okay, we're going to have independent titles. Some of them will be designated hidden gems. which is a program where video retailers recommend movies that will rent. And our first one is Life Partners. It's a romantic comedy with Leighton Meester and Adam Brody. Magnolia title. We recommend you buy it. Mark?
Yeah, we do. A little bit off the beaten, a little edgy romantic comedy. I like it, and recognizable cast. It has an edgy look. Actually, the old artwork had an edgy look. This is more mainstream, so that's good. Most IMDb voters gave this a 7 or higher, so consumer reviews were very flattering as well. I would definitely do 2 or 3 copies here, Ken.
Yeah, I'd bring in 2 pieces of this. It's something a little different than what we have for the rest of the month with all the major box office pieces, and it is a decent title.
The Humbling has a big star, Al Pacino, a lot of publicity, and it's being released theatrically, so I don't know what the box office will be. I suspect it'll be small, but it's got a great cast. You can see that. Good scores. This is an interesting title. Mark?
Yeah, and this one definitely can be, it can definitely be called art house. The only thing, Bob, you had to use that L word in the storyline, didn't you? That's going to throw a lot of people off. This did get a lot of press, and it's still getting huge press in the LA Times. Touching, very well acted. It's not for everybody, but with Al Pacino on the cover, and it is a quality movie, It's also not so far off from the theme of Birdman, which is interesting because now that's the front runner for Best Picture, and done very well. 25% of the IMDb voters gave this a 10, so that tells you something. I would definitely do a few copies here. Tim?
I'm going to bring in a few copies for sure. I mean, Pacino, I saw part of it. I couldn't really get into it, but he was doing an outstanding job. It's really a platform for him just to, show his skills. You can probably bring in as much of this as you want, really. I mean, that box art's going to move whatever you happen to have. So I'd probably be bringing in like 3 pieces.
The Last of Robin Hood has a small box office, nice stars, interesting story. Hopefully they change the artwork. Mark?
Yeah, that artwork has some reference to the way she designed her bedroom, but that's another story. A better title for this would have been The Last Days of Errol Flynn. As expected, the acting is terrific, but the director seemed hell-bent making this feel like a B movie from the 50s, and I don't know that that's a good thing, Pretty much succeeded at that. I love the actors, and I didn't really love the movie. That 28-day window is meaningless, but, because of the cast, I'm going to do a couple of copies here. Ken?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. The cast merits bringing in a couple of copies. I have seen alternative box art, which I think will work much better. That really makes it much clearer who the cast is. Hopefully that's what they'll go with.
The Captive has relatively low scores. It has Ryan Reynolds, has a good sleeve, Rosario Dawson. Not sure. Mark?
Yeah, those scores are good enough to satisfy a lot of renters. I love the box art. It works for me. And again, Rosario Dawson, Ryan Reynolds. These are people have heard of and like to see. So because this week is so limited. This is the one I would think about doing a shelf on. But again, it's a tough budget month. So let's get Ken's input.
This is one where I'd try and conserve a few bucks because of the budget. Yet, like Mark points out, this is one of the weaker weeks of the month. So, and this will move. I mean, the box art does everything it's supposed to do. People are going to recognize Ryan, and it's going to move. So, I'd be looking at 3 pieces, maybe 4.
Moving on to March 10th, Night at the Museum. This is third in the trilogy. First one did $250 million. Second did $177. Obviously, the numbers are going down, but it's still a $100 million film. Has some notoriety because of Robin Williams being in it. This will be a solid renter. My recommendation is 14 to 22, which means, to me, 22. Mark?
Yeah, I think that Robin Williams phenomenon or effect is pretty much over. Maybe I'm wrong. I love the guy, but I don't think anybody really that really matters anymore. It is a formula franchise for the whole family, locked-in audience. Just comped to the last couple of them. It does have a $127 million budget. People seem to like those high-budget affairs. Did almost twice as much box office overseas for what it's worth, and actually has good sell-off potential. In my opinion, that 28-day window, with that 28-day window, that number's too low. I do 4 shelves on this one. Ken?
I'd be at the high end of the number, maybe a little higher than the 22. I've been hearing people ask for this movie in the store for over a month. We've already featured the previous museums on the new release wall, and they generate more interest. So I'd be like maybe closer to that 30 level. But I got to get the whole order done and then go back and see where I've busted the budget and what I need to do with it. But in any event, I'd be at the high end of the numbers here. I love this 28-day window.
Yeah, closer to 30 makes it more like 4 shelves. Yeah.
Annie, this is a remake, a multiracial remake, but it really doesn't matter. Race doesn't have anything to do with this movie. It's a good musical. It's a good kids movie and family movie. It's PG. My recommended buy is 13 to 19, which is 19. Mark?
Yeah, it does have that sweet spot box office, but that IMDb number is a little scary to me. I'd hold this to no more than 2 shelves, and for me, and put that other extra shelf on Night at the Museum. Tim?
Yeah, this is a hard one. It's a bit of a wild card. It's a great box office. The IMDb number does stink, but there's a lot of publicity behind this with the Sony hack. And,
right.
Anybody who hadn't heard of Annie certainly has by now. Yet, it wasn't thrown out there for the world to see like the interview. So I think out of curiosity, more people will be interested here. So I'm probably going to be at that, I think I'll probably be at around 15 here. And then if I need to, I can always run out and get more.
Independent movie Pioneer, a Magnolia title. This plays like sci-fi, even though it isn't. A lot of underwater scenes. It's a foreign movie. No, it isn't a foreign movie. But it's about the North Sea and the exploration of oil. Nice sleeve. Mark?
Yeah, it is and it isn't. It's just about half and half Norwegian and English. It boasts Wes Bentley from the Hunger Game franchise, so he's recognizable. And underwater thrillers, they work, and I like the box art, It's entertaining, a couple copies, you can't go wrong, Ken?
Yeah, I'd probably be looking at 2 copies, but, this is also something, if my budget gets squeezed too much, it's going to be on the chopping block.
Right.
I'd put in two copies to start and see where the numbers add up.
Red Sky. This is Top Gun-like action. I think that's a good sleeve. We recommend you buy it. Mark?
Yeah, and a good genre. Bill Pullman, Rachel Lee Cook, they're no-name actors, That box art tells you exactly what you're getting, and I do like it. Your customers won't know that lousy IMDb number, and, probably most of them wouldn't care anyway. 2 or 3 copies here, I think, would do just fine. Ken?
This is another 2 copy for me. I mean, this is a, B action movie. Lots of things blowing up, planes flying around. The cast is recognizable, so same kind of thing I throw in 2, see where the numbers add up.
Russell Madness, this is another hidden gem. This is for the family. It has Fred Willard in it, who's one of my favorite people, as well as John Ratzenberger. This is for the family. It's kind of silly. It's a dog that rustles. Mark?
Yeah, and let's say this right out in front. That 28-day window is meaningless on this title. Strictly kiddie fare. There's a market for that stuff, without a question. Ken has usually got good insight on this. Ken?
This is a formula buy. We buy 2. We always buy 2
Okay.
of whatever this kind of movie is. Afterwards, they live forever in a section we call General Audience, which is just movies rated G and PG. And it remains one of the popular sections in the store. And it's something
I like that.
Section we run a lot of specials on. Because the one thing you can do is the kids who watch this stuff will watch the same movie over and over.
Okay. We're moving on to the third week of the month, March 17th, Penguins of Madagascar. This is not quite part of the Madagascar string of movies that have been very successful, and each one grossed around $200 million. This is a spin-off. I'm sure they were disappointed at $80 million, but this is good for video. My recommendation would be 13 to 19, which this month I mean 19. Mark?
Yeah, they switched up that box art on us and made it even more childish, which I don't care for, but it does have that sweet spot box office number there, and it's a spinoff from a very successful franchise. To me, that 28-day window matters here. People are going to be looking for it and asking for it and can't get it at Redbox. That would be important. And kids will see the commercials on TV and want this movie immediately. I do 2 shelves here, and I don't think you're going to need more than that, but keep in mind you can sell these off. Ken?
This is an easy one to sell off afterwards. That's a really good point. I'd probably be, I'm thinking maybe like 17 pieces here, a little over 2 shelves. It's got a big box office. There'll be some advertising. The 28-day window is there, and I think it'll draw families.
Exodus, Gods and Kings. This was a disappointment, but it's good for video. I mean, I think the comparable title is Noah, and I think you should buy 13 and 19, which means 19. Mark?
Yeah, it was a disappointment. Boy, they advertised the heck out of this when it came out. Huge cast, huge $140 million budget. Same director, Ridley Scott, is Gladiator. By the way, this did 3 times that number box office, worldwide box office, so it did very well around the globe. That 28-day window could surprise. With that 28-day window, I say this could surprise on the upside. I'd probably bring in 3 shelves here. Ken?
Yeah, I'd be looking at like 24 pieces here, which a little over 3, I guess. But I just got so much TV advertising. I'm just, I'm not thrilled with the box art we see there, but I'm sure we'll get something else for video. Noah's probably something good to take a look at as a comp, but this certainly got, I think, a lot more PR and commercial play than Noah ever did. So, and I think the 28-day window, again, really supports it well.
Top 5. This is a Chris Rock production. He produced it, he directed it, he wrote it, he acted in it. Got some good scores. It's a comedy. Recommended by 12 to 16. This month, that means 16. Mark?
Yeah, this might be top 5 $25 million box office movies I never heard of. I don't know how this escaped me. Consumers seem to like it. Critics loved it. They just loved it. Apparently, far from the typical Chris Rock fare. Box art seems a little confusing for me, who really doesn't know anything about it, but I suggest to tread a little carefully here, but maybe it will build word of mouth because the critics liked it so much, and consumers seem to like it. I don't know. Ken, you give me your input.
Well, it's a sweet spot of box office. I hadn't heard of it either, so that means it probably didn't play anywhere near my neighborhood. So I don't know what kind of awareness people are going to have of it, which is a bit of a concern, but I'm inclined to go with either 1 shelf, assuming most of my customers haven't heard of it, or I think 2 shelves is also a safe bet, because I think Chris Rock will certainly make 2 shelves of copies return. So I'm torn. I'll probably throw in 14 and see how the budget shapes up, and decide whether I play it low with 1 shelf or play it good with 2 shelves.
Yeah, especially if it builds that word of mouth.
Yeah.
Independent title Vice. I included this because it has Bruce Willis. Has not so good reviews. Probably doesn't matter. Mark?
And Thomas Jane, the cult hero of the cult movie Thursday. Some people know what I'm talking about. Who would have ever believed that the 2 most prolific directed DVD actors would be Nicolas Cage and Bruce Willis? Not me. You're right, Bob. The consumer reviews have been brutal. That 4.0 may be generous. The box art works. Great cast. Either you give this some shelf presence or you ignore it. Obviously, I give it some shelf presence. You gotta at least pick up a half a shelf, maybe a shelf with that cover. Ken?
Well, again, I'm going to play this the same way because of the magnitude of the month. I'm going to bring in. I'm going to put down my order 4, and then see how my numbers add up. And, this will rent a full shelf if we give it a full shelf. But you're going to do that at the expense of some other title, and that's really the key issue here.
Son of a Gun. This isn't the final artwork. As Ewan McGregor has a nice, interesting plot, decent scores. Probably should have this, Mark.
Yeah, you should definitely have this. And, I really like the genre a lot. I would do, again, everything is, predicated on it's a tough month. But I would, I'd pick up a couple of copies that's just on the cast in the genre. Ken?
Yeah, I think you have to bring this in. Again, it's a question of how much. And again, I think I'd start out with the 4 copies. And, once I got my numbers, my totals, I'll start making trade-off decisions.
Okay, the 4th week in March 24th, The Hobbit, blockbuster, $250 million box office. The first 2 did extremely well. My recommended buy is 18 to 30, which this month is 30. Mark?
Yeah, yet another mega franchise release this month. Just amazing. That 28-day window is definitely terrific. And Ken can help me out on this. I suspect that these Hobbit installments don't rent as well as the Captain Americas and the Guardian of the Galaxy type movies, but it should generate some excitement. You got the comp to the other Hobbits. There's your number. Ken?
I think this is going to do well. I think this got a lot of TV ads, and it got it. I mean, so many battle scenes are on the commercials showing just gazillions of troops marching against each other, and I think that'll draw a lot of people to it. It won't have the legs that, say, some of the other adventure films have had. Captain America had some really extensive legs there, and the Guardians are still going strong. But I think there's going to be good demand for it. The 28-day window is a blessing. So I'm a bit above that 30 number. I'm thinking more like 32, 34 pieces. And I think this is an easy after sell too.
For what it's worth, this is one of the most violent movies I've ever seen, if not the most violent movie I've ever seen. And it's a PG-13.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it.
Okay, obviously you haven't seen Thursday. You're going to have to go back and see Thursday.
Into the Woods. My parallel title is Mamma Mia, which I think is a warning. Even though it's a $121 million film, I have 12 to 16, which this month means 16. Mark?
Arrow through the heart. You're comping this to Mamma Mia? Oh, okay. Geez. The genre should definitely include comedy. I'm going to tell you that, Bob. It was definitely trying very hard to be funny, and it was. That Johnny Depp character was hysterical, and there was a couple other scenes that were just really off-the-chart funny. Massive box office, considering that this is a musical. But it's also very much a new Disney classic, And, actually, Bob, your numbers look pretty good to me. Ken?
Yeah, I'm at the 2 shelf here, so it's going to be like 14 pieces. Outstanding cast, plenty of PR, and it got panned by a lot of people, too. But I think curiosity is going to bring the renters out.
It got panned by a few people, not a lot.
Okay. Unbroken, another $100 million film. Tremendous amount of publicity. One of the best-selling nonfiction books in the last 10 years. A lot of publicity because Angelina Jolie directed it. 3 Oscar nominations. Unfortunately, they're more technical than the mainstream ones. My recommended buy is 18 to 30, which this month means 30. Mark?
Yeah, boy. Very impressive box office for a torture drama. Torture is, and there's a lot of torture scenes depicted, and torture is in it was pretty torturously slow and unrelentingly depressing. Would you agree with that, Bob?
Yeah.
Still, big box office, 28-day window, a nice IMDb score, but don't look at the consumer reviews. Man, they hated this. And they often do on very famous books. I think the people that read the books always hate movies. I don't know why. I would hold it to 3 shelves on this one for the reasons I stated above. Ken?
I think Mark nailed it. I think 21 is the right kind of number here. Again, you can always grab more if you turn out you've shot yourself in the foot. But, you know, we have the 28-day window with some protection as well. So, yeah, I'm at 21.
The Gambler. This is a remake of a movie about 40 years ago. Mark Wahlberg, a good supporting cast. This is nice for video, 12 to 16, which my recommendation is 16. Mark?
Yeah, it is nice for video. Yeah, and you're right. 40 years ago, the James Caan version of this came out. I don't like the box art, and they say it's not final. I hope they give it a little more pizzazz or something. I saw the trailers on this, and it looks right up my alley. It looked like more like a thriller than a drama, so I hope they do that in the box art. But you're right. This is perfect for video, and that's a good number. Ken?
Yeah. I mean, this is an absolute perfect video title. That's a great box office for it. So I'm doing 2 shelves, and that makes it 14.
Song 1. This is Anne Hathaway vehicle. Getting some publicity. I'm reading about it all over the place, even though it doesn't have much of a box office. Probably should buy a couple copies. Mark?
Yeah, the last time Anne Hathaway broke out in the song, she won an Academy Award for Les Miserables. So, you know, there you have it. This is worth a pickup on that alone. And you know what? Just looking at the cover, you know, I'd say, hey, hon, you want to watch this? And she'd probably say, sure. Ken?
Yeah, I think the cover will work well that way. I'd be bringing in a couple of copies of this for sure.
Okay, we're going into the last Tuesday of the month, March 31st, but I should say there are not a lot of independent titles this month, and I believe the independent product has been delayed till April because they were afraid there would be no money left for them, and that's why you don't see a lot of titles this month, even though the titles are fantastic. Interstellar did $186 million. I'd parallel it to Gravity. Maximum buy for the month, 18 to 30 pieces, which in my case means 30 pieces. Mark?
Yeah, look at that IMDb number, and look at how many votes this thing has received. That 8.9 does fascinate me because, you know, I really liked it, but the 3 people I saw this with, not so much. It's very high concept, very heady Christopher Nolan stuff, you know. You know, anybody familiar with him knows where he goes with that, and you really got to keep your thinking cap on. And the movie's just about 3 hours long. It's done about 700 million worldwide, and you know, when you compared it, you comped it to Gravity. This is not as consumer friendly as Gravity, in my opinion, but probably still a good comp, and probably the high number is justified. But this is not going to be for everybody. Ken?
I'm probably at the high end of Bob's number there. And it may not be for everybody, but they won't realize that until they've already rented it.
You're right.
So, you know, some word of mouth may shorten its legs, but the demand is going to be there. It's got plenty of press. Everything McConaughey does seems to rent like crazy. So I'm at that 30 kind of number.
The Imitation Game. It's at $60 million. It's got 8 Oscar nominations. This is the movie that's probably most benefited from the Oscars nominations. And as crazy as this sounds, this title is going to approach $100 million. This title has legs. It has very powerful word of mouth. It just keeps going. 14 to 22. My recommendation is 22. Mark?
Yeah, so let me make this clear. I love this movie, one of my favorite movies of the year, and I think it has a long shot to win Best Picture, but I hate that box art. Could it be more boring? You know, a hell of a terrific World War II movie that's involving, suspenseful, moves along briskly, based on a fantastic true story about the man who virtually invented computers. Those people have got to do something with that boring brown box headshot of Cumberbatch. That's horrible box art for such a great movie. Come on now, where's the excitement? Ken, you pick.
I'm a little higher than Bob's number there. I'm thinking, I got to be closer to, 12 26, 28 copies here. I think the Oscar nominations are really going to help this along. I agree with the box art, although I've seen different box art that I'm hoping they go with.
Well, I hope they do.
Yeah, I think, this is the kind of thing, like Bob said, it really seems to have legs. And I think we can make a lot of money on this title.
Terrific movie, just terrific.
Wild has 2 Oscar nominations, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress. This is benefiting, obviously, from the Oscar nominations. Good scores, based on a best-selling book. My recommendation is 12 to 16, which means 16. Mark?
Yeah, nice 28-day window on this. America loves Reese Witherspoon, and she, like you said, she's nominated for Best Actress in this. And this is also the second of her new production company, second movie of her new production company, and the other one was Gone Girl. So she's got some talent there. I think 2 shows will work perfect here. Ken?
It's perfect box office for a video store, and the 28-day window is tremendous here. I wish Reese was bigger, more recognizable on the box art. That would certainly help. But yeah, I'm going to do the 2 shows, like Mark was saying. That's 14 pieces, but I'd be ready to run out and get some more if I needed them.
The rewrite, nice cast. Hugh Grant, Marissa Tomei, J.K. Simmons, who everybody says is going to win the Oscar this year. Never released theatrically that I can tell. You need this one. Mark?
Yeah, and who told you that many months ago in this program with J.K. Simmons? I love that performance. Again, thinking that April is such a nominal box office-wise on this particular title because of the cast, and it's a direct-to-DVD Hugh Grant vehicle, I would do a shelf on this. J.K. Simmons will win, most likely win for Whiplash, so he's going to be very recognizable. And, this reminds me of, what was it, Words and Music with Drew Barrymore, and that did pretty well for me. So, yep, a shelf for me. Ken?
I kind of agree with Mark here on the shelf. It's going to be a little tricky because we're considering this to actually be an April title. I don't have a complete picture of what April's going to be like. So I'll bring it to this prior to knowing what April's full title list is going to be, but I'll take a chance here and go with shelf.
I will take a chance and say that April box office will be 1/2 of an average month. It'll be 450 million, 500 million.
Ouch.
Very low. I mean, very disappointing. And I'm going on a limb because obviously studios can drop in titles, but they're Taken 3 will be the lead title, I think, by far. So, anyways, here's the assumptions. We don't go over them anymore. Thanks a lot, guys. I should also say that Easter is Sunday, April 5th, so sometimes that affects buying. Mark, Ken, thanks a lot. Talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
All right, bye.